Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Lambert from the Geek and Review, and I am here with our friend Nikki Shaver from Legal Technology Hub. And Nikki, you have a new event series coming out called the Demo Dozen. Tell us more about that.
That's right. Hi, Greg. Hi, everyone. So, actually, we held our first one of these on February 19th, hosted by Stephanie Wilkins. You're right. It's called our Demo Dozen event. At these new LTH events, which are free to attend, by the way, you can log in virtually to see 12 curated providers offer demos of their products. It's an easy way to get up to date on what's new in the market, whether that is brand new products or existing ones with new features. We'll be offering these throughout the year, and our next one is coming up on May 19th. So, if you're a vendor listening and would like to participate in upcoming Demo Dozen events, let us know at legaltechnologyhub.com or reach out to me or Chris Ford on LinkedIn. If you're a buyer or other participant in the market and you'd like to learn more or attend one of these events, make sure you follow our page on LinkedIn. It's at Legal Tech Hub. Or if you follow along at legaltechnologyhub.com, we have an events drop down on our page. And if you follow on that, you will see registration links for all of our upcoming events, including Demo Dozen. So keep an eye out for that. It's a great way to know what's what in the market.
Yeah, and having these very compacted demonstrations really helps people like me to evaluate things very quickly. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Greg.
Welcome to the Geek and Review, the podcast focused on innovative and creative ideas in the legal industry. I'm Marlene Gabauer.
And I'm Greg Lambert, and today we are delighted to have Paula Reichenberg, founder of Neuron, on the show. And Paula, we've had a little technical difficulties, but I think we're going to fight through it now. So welcome to the Geek and Review.
Thank you so much for welcoming me.
So, Paula, you began your career as an M&A and capital markets lawyer, and then you moved into translation services with Hieronymus. You obtained an MBA, and then you undertook data science training. And now you're the founder of Neuron. So, can you walk us through that journey? Because that's quite a jump, and explain how you came to decide. Legal translation combined with AI was definitely the game you wanted to play, and sort of tell us what motivates you that way.
Yeah, I think that the right order was that I first decided to leave the legal world. And as an M&A lawyer, I always wanted to sit in my client's seat because we kept giving them advice that they would not follow, and then they would come back and complain a
What?
couple of months later, and ask, no, I would have wanted to do that in their stead. So thus the MBA to try and switch to business. And in the MBA, we had an exercise, and they said, okay, think about your last employer. I thought very hard about my last law firm. Did you have any inefficiencies? And it's kind of, oh my God, where do I start? Um, so you had to list them, and you had to come out with a business idea out of those inefficiencies. So at the time in Switzerland, we didn't have anything like paralegal services. And so all menial tasks were organized in-house, and translations in Europe are a big thing. So you would work on your M&A transaction the whole week. And then on Friday night, a partner would knock at your door. It's like, you speak French, don't you? No, I don't. And you would spend your whole weekend doing translations for the rest of the firm. So that was one example. But the company I started then just out of my MBA, because we won the business plan competition, which is extremely weird. Service company ideas never win business plan competitions,
Yeah.
and for a very good reason, because running a service company is a very bad idea, as all lawyers know. You need to keep working if you want to keep making money, which is a totally inefficient business model. And so that's what I did, and I started the company offering paralegal services, trying to organize large due diligences. And that was a nightmare because lawyers at the time in Switzerland were not the best managers. One thing they could outsource really easily were translations. And so we became, in a very short time, the legal translation agency in Switzerland, specialized on particularly confidential cases and really hard topics that other translation agencies would just not. So this legal menial tasks that needs to be super precise was a niche that carried us for a while.
Mhm.
When then machine translation started to become a thing, not at the time where it was just statistical and it was just always there to give you a good laugh, the kind of insider joke of the translators. When it started producing good results, I really thought about this MBA case we had studied, the Kodak case, and it's always click clack Kodak. How can you kill your own company within a couple of months because of a new technology? And I thought, I'm not going to click clack Kodak my translation business. And so we started developing our own Swiss legal translation models um, with external partners. And we discovered very early on, lawyers are discovering it today, that data is king. So if you don't have good data, if it's not, you cannot build good models. And it's always this managing of the data. So we decided to internalize these processes because no one was, of course, good enough to handle legal data properly at the time, in Europe at least, multilingual data on top of it. And so that's brought me back to university. I had to take some accelerated classes in machine learning and data science. And yeah, we started with innovation projects, hiring our first engineers, which again, for a lawyer, very challenging. You know how to hire lawyers, but try to hire an engineer. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, you have the impression they hate you. You talk to them, you smile, they don't smile back. And you always think, I think this person was good, but they're going to say, no, they hated us. And no, so we hired really good people, thanks to excellent professors. You need to have some insiders. And that's how the journey started for us to transform the company into a half tech company. And that's where the idea, a lot of people even today, I've got the impression that I'm living back in the future, because a lot of law firms customers today tell you large language models are so good, just wait for a couple of years and they're going to replace lawyers completely, because they're lay people and they don't see the mistakes large language models make. So they think the next version is just going to be better and the next one is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So at the time, of course, the same thing happened with the translation models. People who don't really speak languages or not, they see the results, they're amazed. The results are amazing, but they're far from being perfect. And so this last mile was really the thing. How do you solve this last mile that lay people don't see? But as a professional, you enjoy the tool, but you see the mistakes and you think, how can we become more efficient in this? And the sad answer, it's sad because it's full of words that lawyers hate, is processes and data. And that's what we decided to do. This is why we created a spin-off to really accelerate that, to, okay, work with large language models, fine, but work with them to do processes and data. And so that's how Neuron was born. The word
Great.
neuron, the name neuron, sounds a lot better than processes and data, but that's how we could have been called.
Oh, well, that's why you hire marketers as well as engineers to make sure that.
Yeah.
They
Some
like
people
everything.
thinking that it was done by a marketer, but no, we were desperate. We needed to fill out a form, and we just came up with a name. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the necessity is the mother of invention and the mother of naming your company if
Mhm.
need be, right? So, well, Paul, I want you to kind of walk us through the different iterations of what you've done, because there was Hieronymus and there was Lex Machina and then now Neuron, and maybe even something even more recent,
Yeah, I think you
if
have
you
some
want to talk
news.
about it. So, what were you doing to solve each of those problems in the stages that went along, and then what's on the near horizon for you?
Yeah. So Hieronymus is definitely a service company, stayed a service company. The mix of services it's given changed a lot with the improvement of machine translations, which can give you again a glimpse of what may happen in the law firm industry. Um, a lot of easy assignments where we could at the time also bill for huge urgency fees. Those were the times. That was all gone. Everything that could just be average got totally taken over by the clients themselves. So there was a lot of do-it-yourself by clients for easy stuff. And so the service company became extremely specialized. So it became a little jewel of really highly specialized people who can then charge for a premium. Or the kind of average people were replaced, unfortunately, by this do-it-yourself behavior of the end client. And so this company I sold it to a larger group that is looking exactly at niching down into very specific industry where really high quality services are needed. So I think as well the consolidation of extremely skilled is one trend. So that's Hieronymus. Neuron is also focusing completely on the processes part of if you want this kind of agentic flow of what you need to do to serve lawyers in all their different use cases. But we also build at the same time inside Neuron a big natural language processing team specialized on multilingual legal texts, which was extremely important at the beginning to build the right models, etc. Now, this team has been outsourced or spun out into a European scale-up called Noxtua, and that is offering a European sovereign alternative to non-European players. Let's put it like that. Specialized as well on handling publishers' data of every single European country, because that's also something that we have to face in Europe, is how scattered the legal landscape is. Each jurisdiction really has a different legal tradition, different language, different structure of its legal system. So it's unfortunately not comparable to the States where you have 50 states that are more or less similar. In Europe, it's very scattered. So
Well, don't tell them that.
Yeah, don't tell Texas that.
I was gonna say they don't
You
think they're
can send a
similar at all.
No, it's true that South Carolina would probably disagree very much with what I'm saying. But
Yeah. Well, and you kind of mentioned it that some of the learning experience that you had with how the technology was changing the way that you do translations may run parallel to what the technology may be doing now for the legal industry as a whole, or at least in parts of that. And I read something about Mindy Kaling's keynote at Legal Week recently, where she talked about kind of that takeover for writers for like television shows and movies, and that she sees the technology taking over the mediocrity of it. For us, we may think of that as more of the the basic work, the commoditized work. Did you see that? Do you see that running parallel with translations to legal?
I see that very much. A lot of little contracts I've had to negotiate recently were directly sent to me by lay people who just told me, oh yeah, I prepared a contract. And you can see that it was AI generated. So unfortunately, they didn't even use a proper AI, a legal AI tool. They should have. But this is just happening. This do-it-yourself attitude. Before, we would have involved a lawyer to do that. It would have been done a lot better. But now it was just a crappy draft. I changed what was in my disadvantage. I left what was in my advantage, and we signed it. And so now the reaction that translators had at the time, because they said, no, but have you seen this translation is full of mistakes? They're going to regret it. At some points, they're going to come back and see that everything they did was full of mistakes, and then they will come back.
Yeah.
Maybe. So the problem is that it's not only that it's taking away the mundane work. The problem is that it is creating a lot of mediocre outputs, but that no one really cares about mediocrity in most cases. And then,
Yeah.
and this is where
Good enough's good enough.
yeah. For
Yeah.
80%
I don't
of
know.
the
Marlene just gave me a side eye for that statement.
Well,
So
it I'm thinking about, I think for many people, good enough is good enough. But, when you talk about your team, right, it's lawyers and linguists and engineers, which is sort of definitely what you need for what you do, but it's a very interesting combination. And, the lawyers are going to be very focused on, confidentiality. Both they and the linguists are going to be focused on, legal linguistic, domain expertise. The engineers are, focused more on how things work and innovation. So, how do you operationalize that combination in product development and service delivery? I mean, I imagine there's got to be some frictions, and how do you combat that?
yeah, I think that
engineers love lawyers.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely a more optimistic, crew to talk about, because they're not about to be fired. So they're really good people, and they cannot be replaced by an AI. No, this is true. It's really this being an expert and being excellent, but being able to work in a team, and that, I think, is something that why a lot of companies will tell you that entrepreneurship, so starting, doesn't work as well as entrepreneurship, where you really have an external team. Because when you start afresh, we started with a team of exactly this: one engineer, one linguist, and one lawyer. And so when you build from this, and you manage to have this trust among the three founders that really represent that, you grow the team with the same communication and kind of bridges. And you're right, Marlene, because I'm very active in the Swiss legal tech community in Europe in general, and I hear a lot of founders of legal techs, and it is rare to have this a triangle that is balanced. So
Mhm.
so yes, you're right. I think it's the secret.
supported on all sides. Yeah.
Yeah, and with this communication that works. Yeah, that's true.
Although I will say that it sounds a little bit like a joke. So it's like a linguist, a lawyer, and an engineer start a company. ...
We'll ask AI to fill
let's
in that
ask an
joke.
AI for the end of this story.
Exactly. What's the joke? What's the joke? What's the punchline there?
AIs are very bad at jokes.
They're really
It does.
bad jokes, I gotta say.
Yeah.
So, Paula, we talked earlier about the good enough being good enough but when it comes to your potential customers, when they're evaluating a platform like yours, well, what tends to matter most to them when they're starting the evaluation, and then what proves to be like the ultimate value after the adoption? Because where do they see the strongest returns, and where do you still run into people that are hesitant or resistant to apply these technologies?
Yeah, that was a steep learning curve to understand to whom to speak and who would understand the added value. Because for us, of course, coming from the language industry, it's so obvious that machine translation is crap and that it needs to be improved. But then
We're gonna
you
quote
seem
that.
It's going to be the title of the show.
Everybody will listen.
But then and then you tell them, and this is why we exist. It's to get you from crap to great. Either thanks to the proper processes, the proper data, and everything smoothly, so that the do-it-yourself becomes efficient. Because this is the problem as well: is that when you have an output that comes from the machine, and then you're a lawyer, it's last minute, you have to and you look at the thing and you say, but actually it's really bad. Oh gosh. And then you don't have the tools to improve this and to automate, auto propagate your corrections, everything. So you've got the impression that you're doing an intern's work, but it's super important because you cannot submit something that is wrong to the court. And so this frustration that you have of having the impression that you are given a tool that is mediocre, and you say, and now I've got to do. I know that at every customer conversation when they tell me, I did this translation with and it was so bad. I spent 16 hours correcting it. You know that you've got to sell because you know that, and you say, okay, 16 hours, and they say, and with you it would have been perfect. You say, oh gosh, no. Our models, the only thing we guarantee is that they make mistakes. It's guaranteed mistakes. But our system tells you where they are and it helps you to correct them, helps them to spot them. And instead of 16 hours, you would have spent 4 hours. So it's not perfect, but it's really something where you're saying this is the added value. But it's not everyone. If you have not gone through the pain, you will not.
Yeah, I imagine if someone has the pain, they'll be like, let me get my checkbook. That's
Exactly.
like whatever it costs, I need it. But if they haven't experienced that, then they don't really understand the benefit.
I think that it's an issue that a lot of legal workspaces are facing because you create the best features ever, but most of the people, 80% of the people, just use the chat window and just do everything there and never use any of the special features that would save them so much time. And so this also, in our naivety at the beginning, totally surprised us that people just at the 80% of the usage is still on the absolutely simplest thing. And there we had to put a lot more effort than we would have imagined, just improving this really basic stuff. And then the added value is not necessarily noticed by everyone, but the people who do are the ones that really work with your tool, and for them it's an immense added value. So you have to cover this whole scope, which is frustrating for the nerds. But
yeah, well, let me bump my question I was going to ask later because I think it fits perfectly right here in this part of the conversation. Because a lot of times, like you were saying, the translations to the newbies looks deceptively easy, right? It's like taking one word and translating it to whatever the other language's word is. But when you're talking about things like legal documents, it's not just a word for word translations. You get different systems that are different, drafting cultures that are different, the risk assumptions that are different, and so and that's just for the layperson, right? When it comes to lawyers and translations as well, do you think there's still something that they're fooling themselves about on, just how easy some of the translation tools can take this perfect contract that they wrote in one language and make it a perfect contract for another language?
I think that it's still a myth that a lot of people will believe in, and then you've got the others that who will notice the difference. But it's the same with large language models. There's so many people telling you, no, but I tried Claude is better than my lawyer. And fair enough. And those people
It might be true, but they would have a really bad lawyer.
Yeah, they really cannot appreciate their lawyer's added value. But I had this in a negotiation where it was a complex tax issue and Swiss tax, and the other party was not Swiss, so they didn't understand. So we had a tax lawyer, come jump into the conversation and really giving us for 1 hour explanations and everything, and they were still extremely reluctant to believe him. Then I said, I was still fed up. I said, but let's ask ChatGPT. And he said, oh yeah, let's do that. And ChatGPT came out with an answer, and I said, so here it's wrong, let's correct it. And you ask, so and we And so that took 5 minutes, and they believed it. So they believed ChatGPT more than a professional. It's extremely weird. It's the same in finance apps. Apparently, if you go to your banker and they tell you, oh, you should diversify your portfolio, so let's put a little bit in Asia and do that, and you're kind of yeah, I think about it. Apparently, if the info comes from the app and it tells you, oh, and it's an AI telling you you should have at least 20% on Asian stocks, you say, oh, okay, click the button. It's extremely interesting, this pattern. But I'm going off track here. But it's so yes,
No, I mean,
not
that could be a
everyone.
whole other discussion. That could be a whole other discussion about like,
Yeah.
trust in the systems and, why people do what they do when they work with them.
Yeah. Well, and there was a study that was done years ago. It talked about when they were doing machine learning to like for the legal system, right? It was in setting sentences, or if you could get a computer to be your judge instead of a judge, would you do it? And people that were not involved in the legal system were very opposed to that. They wanted the human in it, but the people that had been involved in the justice system, especially on the defense side, were much more willing to allow the machines to do it because they had seen the bias that the humans bring in, and they thought, well, at least there won't be that bias. And of course, we've all learned
And
that
then we
it's
found that
it
no,
got built in.
it's like just as biased. Yep.
Yeah, no, but you've got this impression of official, and it looks so good. I mean, there is no spelling mistake,
It's
nothing.
very
So
confident.
it is
Mhm.
just so good. And so
Yeah.
yes, so for translation, it is a huge uh, issue. But is it a huge issue? I mean, how when you go to translators conferences, they're always telling you about all these mistakes and how bad. But you never find court decisions that are a consequence of a bad translation, where the consequence was just so bad that it went to court, and it's so. In that sense, I agree that it's really bad. And you see then the luxury sector, and by luxury I mean a private bank that is working with ultra high net worth individuals will not use machine translation to do their general terms and conditions or to write to their clients, etc. So you see, but for retail, for an insurance company, they don't care so much about. So Hermes will never translate their website with a machine translation tool, but Amazon does it, and a lot of people are buying their products, obviously, even more than from Hermes. But it's a language becomes, and quality becomes a sign of luxury. And I
Mhm.
think it's going to be the same for probably, who knows, for court judgments as well. You can have the kind of retail part for all your parking tickets, etc. And then you have the luxury part where you suddenly have a human judge who is then suddenly, maybe a better judge than the average of the judges today. Who knows? Uh, so I think there is this. I don't know. Do you have a lot of IKEA in the States? In Europe, everyone
Yep.
Yeah.
just
Plenty of
IKEA
IKEA.
everywhere.
Oh yeah. Everywhere.
So this IKEAization, how would you say the fact that everything became
IKEAtization? Okay.
IKEAization of homes is amazing. I mean, it's crappy quality. Everyone has the same. It's not, but it's
And you only
80%,
need one tool,
Yes.
one little Allen
and they
wrench
give it to you.
And they give it to you.
everybody's got 10 of them in a drawer somewhere.
At least, yes.
Yeah, that concept, I just think about it like that has whole kinds of implications for like access to justice and like, how much how much justice are you getting? If you have a one level and another level um of
Yes, and on the
of
other
commitment
hand,
from the judicial system.
you see that there are lots of refugees in terrible conditions coming from Africa to Italy, and they are rescued from the waters, and then they end up in these camps, and it's absolutely terrible. And there, you have human interpreters. those human interpreters, they're being paid $14 per hour
Hmm.
to be interpreters of many different languages. And because they're not being paid enough to almost to survive, they're not, and they have to work so fast that when they do that job for those people, they don't care, they don't have the time. So access to justice, yes, there is this whole movement, no translation, hashtag no translation, no justice. It's true that sometimes humans, also, if you don't have the financial means to let them work properly, they will not serve the citizens. While if you have a proper, now it's amazing what you can do for interpreting with machine translations and language models. Those people are being served better today, even if it's not perfect, than by those understaffed teams of underpaid human interpreters. So
Mhm.
I've got hope as well for access to justice. I think that technology has also its good sides.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah.
So, um, Paula, looking ahead, you're based in Switzerland. You have a strong foundation in Switzerland, and it sounds like in the EU as well. So, and maybe this has to do with some of the new changes. How are you thinking about scaling internationally? Maybe bringing on new languages. What are sort of the next major features or product areas that you're excited for? I mean, is it beyond translation? Is it, what's going to happen?
I think for translation, the obvious next step for us that we're working on is becoming the brick for every single legal tech tool out there, because many tools offer some sort of translation feature. Now everyone does. It's easy, you integrate something, but everyone says it's half crappy, which is normal. But what is the willingness of having to change the interface? To be very honest, lawyers are already struggling with the fact that they have to pilot so many different tools, and they have to jump from one to the other. And I think everyone is dreaming of just one interface that integrates the best of class for each feature. And we totally recognize that. So we think that um, you should have, depending on what you need just good enough, extremely fast, then this is this. But then when suddenly you're looking at those 1 million SMSs or text messages that you're analyzing, there is one that is just a bit weird, and you see that it doesn't make sense. Just to be able to click and to deep dive into the different meanings and being able to do that seamlessly, etc. I think this is the dream of users, not only for translation, but that's the brick that we are, and so that's what we can offer, and that we're working on.
Well, Paula, before we get to our crystal ball question, I want to ask you kind of two things that run in the same vein. Is like one, what resources do you use to kind of help you keep up with all the changes that are happening in the market? I'm also curious about what have you found any cool tools that you've uncovered lately that you've been using, and would want to share something that you're using with us?
Now this question you're asking it too early, because I was just discussing with someone the fact of hiring someone to do a certain job, and he answered, "No way, my agents do that." And so this person promised me an interview where I can see how really he really believes he can replace someone I would wanted to have hired with an army of agents. So I mean, I believe that
Yeah,
he knows
the
what he's
agent
talking about.
swarms are here.
Yes. So for me, my magic tool is I think it's probably relaxation podcasts that help me sleep at
Oh,
night.
there you go. I like
It's
that.
not really an agent.
I'm sure
I
a
think
lot of us are like,
Don't
yeah.
don't
yeah.
forget to breathe. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure it's a magic tool, but I think that this is, if you want to keep up with everything that's happening, and everything is just so interesting, so you can stay at night reading through, so many interesting news everywhere that, um, yeah, sometimes switching to some sort of meditation or relaxation podcast
Yeah.
is
That's great advice. I like
my
that a lot.
boring tip. But
Turning off allows you to
Turning it
focus
off.
more, you know?
yes.
Okay, so Paula, we have our crystal ball question next. So if we fast forward a few years, what do you think is going to surprise us most about the legal tech ecosystem, and how lawyers are going to work within it?
Um, I think there is going to be, of course, consolidation, because the company that allows you to do what we were mentioning before, to get the best of class feature for everything in one place, this tool will be just so popular, right? It just needs one interface for everything. But this is not a surprise. You asked for something that would surprise us. Um, I think I really see the legal industry becoming going through the same phases as I don't know if in the US you read Émile Zola, probably not. Émile Zola wrote a lot of very depressing stories, but there is one about the first Grand Magasin in Paris, and you have all those little shops that are selling hats, that are selling custom made dresses and everything, and I see all these women running to this grand magasin to discover the latest fashion and everything. And you say, no, it's just a whim. It's not gonna, they're gonna realize that we've been serving the family for 250 years. We are the only ones understanding our clients, etc. And, and so I think this is, it's, it's sad somehow, that's some old craftspeople become less numerous, because you still have wonderful hat makers. They're just less numerous, and so this is something that is sad. On the other hand, we all love going to grand magasins when we're in Paris, so
True.
I think that this is the positive aspect of it. It's like IKEA. We must admit that we love going to IKEA. So
Dude, the meatballs are great. Yeah, and I'm thinking again, sort of back to what we were saying earlier. Um, couture may still exist for special things, and that may make it even more valuable if sort of everything else is sort of ready to wear, if you will.
yeah, no, and this is really what happened to my first service company, is that now it's the luxury of the industry, and it's got a lot of success because of that. And so
Mm.
I think yeah, if you ask Loro Piana, they're also quite happy about the turn of events, and their clients are too. I mean, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to discovering the Loro Piana of both the law firms and of legal tech.
Well, we're going to end it on that fashionable note.
Yeah.
Paula Reichenberg, thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah.
Thanks to you. Have a
And
great
of
day.
course, thanks to all of you for taking the time to listen to the Geek and Review podcast. If you enjoy the show, please share it with a colleague. We'd love to hear from you, so reach out to us on LinkedIn and Blue Sky and Substack.
Substack and all the places.
All the places reach
Yeah,
out
I'm
to
on
us.
European platforms
yeah,
too.
the
Yes,
Substack is the couture of
that is.
our trifecta there. So, Paula, is there any particular place that you want to point listeners to learn more about you and what you're doing?
Well, LinkedIn. I think please connect on LinkedIn if you're interested in multilingual challenges, or just legal tech trends in general. Rather than fashion, I talked a lot about fashion, but that's not my
Do you know if you're going to be going to any events this year that people should know about?
um this year I'll be a lot in Europe. being now closely associated and having taken up on the position of VP of Legal Innovation of Noxtua, I am going to have the honor of going to most European events rather than the. So this is why I missed Legal Week this year for the first time. But I hope as well to meet you again at the TLTF Summit.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, thank you, Paula. And as always, the music you hear is from Jerry David DeSica. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.